One here all week. I love where I live. I love the warm weather.
I've been to where you are.
It's so warm. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Today's guest is broadcasting live from Cleveland, Ohio. I call that Esselstyn town because that's where our heroes, Dr. Esselstyn and Aunt Esselstyn, live. And she's going to be making a really intriguing recipe because I've always wondered how people make these cakes in the Instant Pot. She's going to be making a very moist vegan chocolate cake with a ganache frosting, and she's going to be using her Instant Pot. And I'm meeting her for the first time today. Please welcome Diane Lambert to the show. It's so nice to meet you.
It's nice to be here. I'm really so honored. You have had such giants on your show, and I feel honored to be asked to be kind of among this whole crowd of.
Well, to me, anybody who's doing a plant-based diet and teaching plant-based cooking, they're doing great work, and we want to have as many of them on the show as possible. I'm so intrigued that you're able to do a cake in the Instant Pot. I've heard about it, but I've never tried it.
So, and I had never tried it until last summer, and I was asked to do a cooking demo at our local. We have a school called the Western Reserve School of Cooking here in Hudson. And I wanted to do a demo of something different using the Instant Pot. Because when you think of Instant Pots, you always think of soups and, because that's what I think of, soups, because that's what I use it for. But then I came across this recipe, and honestly, I can't remember actually where I found it, but I was doing some digging on the internet and I just found this Instant Pot cake. And I thought, why not? So I thought I would give it a try, and it actually came out pretty good. Do you want to see the finished product first?
Oh no, that would be, then people might leave. No, okay. Make them wait.
Behind me, so I'll hide it so nobody can.
Okay, yeah. No, we want to see the steps first, because that's like reading the last page of the book first.
Okay, so so I'll just go through the steps. So it takes about 30 minutes to get, once the Instant Pot comes to pressure, and takes about 30 minutes. And I remember when I first got an Instant Pot, and of course you inspired me to get an Instant Pot because you started talking about them, a couple years ago. And I got my very first one. I have two now. Thank you. I have two Instant Pots. And gosh, where was I going with that now? Oh, well, anyway, so I was asked to do a cooking demo. And so I thought, let me do a few soups. So let me throw in a surprise, and I'll throw in a cake. And I think they were really surprised to hear you could make a cake in an Instant Pot. And I kind of was too. So anyways, you actually do need, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a 7-inch springform pan. It's not like your typical, can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. Because this is what fits inside this size. Well, I don't have the small. I'll bring it over to you. Let's see. So this is I have a bigger Instant Pot than this, but this is, this was my very first one. And this will fit in this, but it won't fit in one that's any smaller than this. Okay, so it'll fit in here. Okay. So, all right. And then what I do usually is I take a, piece of parchment paper, and I just cut out, the shape of the bottom. So with my handy dandy, so I'm turned around because I was going to do this over there. So I got to walk around. So hold on one second.
Guys, if you like making desserts, especially chocolate desserts, there's still a few spots in my Chibo class tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do. And the thing is, Chef AJ, I actually don't eat a ton of these things. I really don't. And, I've been following you. Gosh, I don't know when you got started, but I think I've been following you since you got started on YouTube. And I have both your books, and I like making desserts, and I know you were a pastry chef at one time.
I was. Desserts are fun to make. They're just not so fun to eat if you've got a little sugar addiction.
Yeah, you're right. Hold on, I got to get my scissors. Like I said, all my stuff's like over here, but we figured out that I have a window and the window would make it impossible for you to see me. So I just took a knife. I don't even use like a pencil or pen or anything. I just take a knife and I just draw a circle. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll hold it up so you can see. I'm just cutting out the little outline. But yeah, so I don't really, you know, I used to be actually about 14, 15 pounds heavier than I am now. And it's not like I ate a bunch of desserts all the time, but I definitely have a sweet tooth. And since I became plant-based, you know, your taste buds change, you know? So, okay, so I just cut my little circle out. You can see that. And so I put that so that the cake doesn't stick. All right. Yeah.
What size Instant Pot are you using, or does it matter?
You know what size am I using? Is this it's the 10 quart. That's the 10 quart. Yeah. It doesn't matter as long as it's not smaller than the 10 quart, because then the springform pan will not fit in there.
You sure it's not the 8 quart? Because I know Instant Pot comes in 3, 6, 8, and 20.
I could be wrong. It says 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I mean, it could be the 8 quart. It's possible. Does it say here anywhere?
No, the numbers on the inside, I don't think that's the size of the pot, but when I take a look at it, I can let you know.
Yeah, you know, you might be right. It might be the 8 quart. It probably is. But yeah, so it won't fit in anything less than the 8 quart. Because I know you have the small, you have like a really small version.
Yeah, I use the 3 quart like when I used to travel, but I prefer the 8 quart to the 6 quart because
and I have the 8 quart, and then I have the really big one. So yeah, and I use them both. Okay, and so you also want to put, so I don't know if you can see this, but there's a trivet that comes with the Instant Pot. And this trivet you have to have in here before you put the cake pan in. Otherwise, you will not be able to get it out very well. And you have to put an inch of water in the bottom so it steams. Okay, so that's already in there. Okay, now of water in the bottom so it steams. Okay. So let me get my recipe. Okay, so the first thing, you know, you can either, it tells you to make the ganache first. I was just going to do that at the end. You can, but I figure while the cake is cooling, I would make the ganache at that point. So now you don't have to do this in a mixing bowl. I mean, you could do this by hand. I'm just lazy, so I prefer to do it my mixer. Okay. So I'm going to start. This is just, it's like sugar in the raw. It's granulated sugar. I'm like you. I prefer to make my desserts either with date paste or dates or fruit. That's when I do have dessert. I make your outrageous brownies all the time. And yeah, so that hits the spot. But this is a special treat. So for anybody that has a real like sugar trigger, this might not be the best recipe for them. So I'm just saying that there is sugar in it. All right, I'm going to put brown sugar in, and look what happened to my brown sugar.
It clumped.
Lump. So I'm going to have to go put it in the microwave real quick. So hold on. I'm all turned around. Okay, I'll talk while that's getting warm. What is next? So brown sugar. Okay, so my poor husband, I sent him to the store this morning because I had no coconut yogurt. This is my coconut yogurt. And again, this is non-dairy because we don't do dairy as plant-based eaters. I'm not a big yogurt fan. I used to like yogurt before I became plant-based, but I don't really eat. I don't know about you, but I find like, to me, it's kind of like a trigger food. You know, it's sweet. It's really sweet, I think. And if I keep eating it, I'll just keep eating it. So I don't eat it. And you can use, honestly, you can use any kind of non-dairy yogurt. The recipe calls for coconut yogurt. So I sent my husband and he came back with this big, you know, large tub. I only needed like this much. All right, let me get my sugar. Right back. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's still hard. I'm gonna have to get a whole nother one. I have more. Unless I put it, do you think I should put it in the microwave a little longer?
I have not cooked with sugars for like, I don't know, since 2003. So what would I do if I can Google what you do when you're, let me, does it, anybody watching know what to do if your brown sugar is rock hard? I suppose I could Google it.
I have softer brown sugar.
Maybe put it in the food processor and whiz it.
I'm prepared, see? I've got some softer. Okay, so. Yeah, I mean, I keep this around, but again, these are just for special occasions. I could keep you know why this is hard? Because I barely ever use it.
That's what I was gonna say. It just proves you don't use it too much.
No, all right, again, I'm turned around, so everything is on the other side of my counter. And I already measured everything out, so. Okay. I didn't realize that that window, so before, we came on air, that window was going to be a problem. So, all right, so we are measuring a half a cup. Yeah, brown sugar, because I have to remeasure this. I have to look at my recipe. Brown sugar. Hold on. Was it half a cup, quarter cup? I can't remember. Quarter cup. All right, so we're just going to wing it here. You're not supposed to wing in baking, right?
Not really.
No. You're supposed to actually measure. All right. That's okay. So we got that in. Okay, so that's the sugars. And then we got the yogurt. So did I get my little spatula? There it is. I'm knocking everything down. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna, and I bet this would be really good if you didn't want to use coconut yogurt. I bet you could use vanilla. I mean, you could probably use whatever you like, if you're a yogurt eater. Do you do much yogurt at all?
I don't. It's not that I dislike it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Okay. And then we got, all right, so it calls for almond milk. And I can't do almond milk in my house because my husband has a nut allergy. So we don't keep any. I mean, I keep some nuts in the freezer for, like, if I'm going to make something special and he's not going to have it, and I might be taking it to somebody else's house because I don't eat a lot of nuts. So I just used, can you see this? This is just an oat beverage, but you could use, I know you've got that
Nutrimilk. Yeah, I can make oat milk and all kinds of milk.
Yeah, I just watched the show that, oh my God, her name escapes me, but she was showing how to use it. But yeah, how do you like it?
I really like it because, when I use it as a food processor, it is so much quicker and efficient than my Cuisinart. I was doing a summit yesterday for one of the doctors, and I was making my pecan pie, and like in 30 seconds it had processed the nuts, whereas like in the Cuisinart it would have had to run for 5 minutes.
Oh wow, well, that's awesome. Yeah. My husband says I can't buy any more gadgets. I have too many. Okay, now the original recipe, I changed this a little bit. So the original recipe called for oil, and we don't do oil. So I did an experiment thinking if I don't do oil, I didn't really want to use applesauce because I thought, that might not give it enough body. So I decided to use tahini. And I think it came out really good with the tahini. So I'm putting the tahini in. I don't know if you can see it. I'm sort of off camera. Let me kind of move it over here. Hold on one second.
Joyce says you need to put the brown sugar in the microwave with a soaked in water ceramic bear. I don't know if she has a ceramic bear.
Where does one find a ceramic? Whoops, where does one find a ceramic bear?
And then Karen says store brown sugar with a piece of bread in the bag and keep it soft for next time. She used to cook with brown sugar.
Okay, well, tell her thanks. I will maybe try that, but like I said, I don't use it that much, so I happen to have another bag, which was really good. Okay, so the So apple cider vinegar is, so I just use, I mean, you can use any kind. I mean, I have this kind. You can use, I think it's Bragg's. Is it Bragg's? No. What's the one that has the mother in it? Which one am I thinking of? You know what I'm talking about? It's here. I'll show you what it is. It is. I was running this one. Yeah, Bragg. This one. Yeah.
I have that one. Yep.
Yeah. So I use that, or I use it. I mean, you know, either one doesn't matter. I have to find it. I have to find my apple cider. There it is. Okay, it's only a teaspoon. Oh, I wish I could read faster. Okay, so now I'm plugged in. Now on Zoom, I know that there's kind of a muting factor. So if I get this mixer going, it's not going to be real loud, right?
I don't think so. I can always mute it if it is, or you.
Okay, let's see.
Yep, it muted itself.
Okay. I don't know if you can see my mixer. See, I've got these little flowers on it. I got those stickers on Amazon. They're made for mixers. You can get a whole bunch of different kinds of stickers.
That's cute. I've seen people do that with their Instant Pot too. They have stickers. Yeah.
You know, I never thought of doing it on my Instant Pot, but well, maybe I will. All right. So this gets mixed for about a minute.
And so Wanda says, keep an apple or potato in the brown sugar bag until it's soft. That's what her grandmother did.
Yeah, work too. I have heard of the bread technique. I have heard of people putting a piece of bread in the brown sugar, and that seems to, you know.
So Sheila says your husband's only allergic to nuts, but he's not allergic to seeds, right?
No, luckily he can do pumpkin seeds and other seeds, yes, but he has anaphylaxis, so
wow.
You know, he's in contact to that. Yeah, his sister does too, unfortunately.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty dangerous kind of allergy to have. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a interesting story while I'm making this. I forgot how much vanilla. I think it's a teaspoon. Hold on one second. Teaspoon of vanilla. Yeah. Okay. So we were in Israel a couple years ago when we could travel before the pandemic. And we went to a couple different of these hotels where they had these great spreads. I mean, they had just anything you could want, they had. It was amazing. And I was his taste tester. You know, he would grab something and I would say, are you crazy? Do you know what's in that? So I'd have to go ask in the back, you know, in the kitchen. I have to ask whoever was creating those desserts, whatever he was looking at, and ask if there were nuts in there. I saved his life 3 times while we were on vacation because, you know, he doesn't think about it as much as I think about it. So, all right. So that's mixed up. Okay. So in another bowl, I don't know if you guys can see this. So in another bowl, this calls for, you can use white flour. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is, it's whole wheat pastry flour. I just like that because it's not quite white flour. And again, I rarely use white flour. Whenever I do make a dessert, I always use oat flour and I grind my own oats. I put them in the food processor because, you know, I just don't want the white flour. But with this recipe, if you use oat flour and you grind your own oats, it'll be too like dense. It won't have that sort of cakey texture to it. So I've made it that way and it just doesn't come out as good. So really just white flour, pastry flour, whole wheat flour, whatever you like. Cocoa powder goes in next. And I mean, you can use dark cocoa powder. I just used, I think it's the Ghirardelli, but I also have Anthony's. I have a couple different other ones. So it doesn't, you know, whichever one you prefer. And where is, I told you I'm sort of all turned around here because I didn't anticipate standing over here. I had everything set up standing on the other side. So I'm reaching. Okay. Salt. And I think my baking powder might actually be behind you. Hold on a second. It is. Okay, and this is, so you can see the baking powder, okay. All right. So I am just, I don't know if you can see, I'm just mixing it around. So it's nice and combined, I'm getting it all over myself. I saw your sister-in-law the other day. She was cooking.
Yep. And people really like that recipe. A lot of people, even though she gave the recipe, a lot of people still ordered the bars from her.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
They look really good.
Yep. Very talented.
So this calls for you to like do a little bit of the flour and then mix and do a little flour. But again, I'm going to be lazy today and I'm just putting the whole thing in. So, and then I am going to just mix this again. Let me pull this over so you can see. Just kind of like on low so that all the flour doesn't get go overboard. And again, I mean, if you, depending on, you know, if you did decide to use oil instead of tahini, you know, the texture is going to come out a little different. Okay, that's pretty combined. Okay, the last thing is you need to add in 3 tablespoons of boiling water, which, where's my, in front of me. Okay, so 3 tablespoons, and you can just microwave it. Okay. Now, the other thing is, this also calls for adding some dark chocolate or milk. We don't do milk chocolate, dark chocolate or semi-sweet. This is non-dairy chocolate. Okay, I don't, it's non-dairy chocolate. And I got the chips. You can get the chunks. You can shave it. And you can leave it out. If you don't want to put this in, you don't have to. Okay. And this is, I mean, I use this brand, which is it's called Enjoy Life. Have you ever seen this one?
Yep, we had a big discussion about all the various kinds of chocolate chips yesterday on the show if people want to know. So people are saying if they don't want to use the sugar, do you have a replacement? Dates, sweet potatoes, bananas? And can you use a gluten-free flour as well?
You can. Yes, you can use gluten-free. Absolutely. As far as the sugar, I mean, it would not be as sweet and it would probably change the integrity of it. It wouldn't, I mean, you know, if you don't use, because you always say when I have a recipe, follow it as I write it, or it's not going to come out the way I intended it to come out. So you could do it. You probably could use bananas. Sweet potatoes would probably be really good too. I just don't know the equivalent amount. Do you think it would be 1-to-1? I'm not really sure.
That's the thing. I you know, when I wrote my ebook, Date with Dessert, which is going to be a cookbook, I tried to explain that it's, at least for me, it's much easier to come up with a new recipe than to try to make substitutions in an already existing one, because I don't know of an exact swap.
I mean, I think if somebody's in the mood to experiment and they want to play around with it and try, knock themselves out. I mean, I think that would be fine. Who knows? You could come up with a whole new recipe, right? So I'm just going to stir these in. I'm trying not to be off camera here. So you tell me, the audience can tell me if they're not seeing it, because I'm actually busy looking down to see what I'm doing. Okay. Try to get it all off of this. All right. I'm gonna give that a few stirs, and then I'm adding the chocolate chips in. I mean, if you could smell this, it smells really good. It smells really chocolatey. Okay. Okay, and all I do now is just, you can see here's the pan, and it's got the parchment in it right here. Some people like to actually, I don't know why they do it, but they spray the bottom of the pan before they put parchment in. I've never done that. And you know, I've actually baked a few recipes where I haven't put anything in the pan. It's just when it's baked, it comes out. So, you know, it doesn't stick. Now I know you use silicone, right?
Yeah, and that pan you're using does appear to be slightly nonstick. It looks like
it. Yeah, I think it might be. It might have some nonstick to it for sure. So, but when I make your brownies, I don't grease anything. I just put them in my pan and they come out fine. So, okay. I'm trying to get all this chocolate out of there.
I mean, is there anything, could you just take any cake recipe and cook it in the Instant Pot?
You know, that's a really good question. I'm not really sure. I guess you probably could, because if you think about it, what's different about this recipe than making any other kind of a cake? I mean, I guess you could. You would probably, though, have to change the amounts. Like if you took a recipe, let's say you had a vanilla cake you wanted to make or some other cake, you would have to make sure that the amounts would be appropriate for this size pan. So if you're really good at figuring that out, you probably could do it. So I guess you probably could make a cake in an Instant Pot with other recipes. All right, so this already has the water in it. Let me pull my pot over so you can see. Ugh. Okay, so there's my pot. And, you know, again, remember when you guys do this, that you always want to make sure where the knob is, right? It has to be so that it's not venting. So I'm going to put this in. I'll tell you a funny story about an Instant Pot. And also I make sure that these trivet handles are up. Can you guys see that? The trivet handles are up. Okay. Otherwise, you'll have a really hard time getting it out. And I'm going to plug it in if I can reach. Okay. And I'm like you, when I use the Instant Pot, I always set everything at, like, although this calls for 30 minutes, I set everything at 30 minutes. Okay, so I made sure that this knob is where it's supposed to be. This is on tight. And I'm setting it for, can you guys see this? 30 minutes. Hold on, manual. Okay, so it's set for 30. Okay. So you see this little reservoir that, you know, comes in the back of the Instant Pot? Last year, I was making some soup, and this, I must have been cleaning it, and I stored it inside of the pot. And I didn't think about it before I made the soup. I cooked the soup with this little plastic piece in it. I had to dump my entire, I can't remember what I made now. I had to dump the entire batch of soup. I was so upset with myself. Like,
well wait,
why didn't I look there?
Couldn't you have just strained it out?
Well, I thought about doing that, Chef AJ. However, this melted.
Oh, then it's different.
It melted in with the product. And when I took it out, it was all misshapen and discolored. And I thought, yeah, probably not a good idea for me to eat this or anybody else. So, but I couldn't believe it. I cooked it in with the, you know, that wasn't one of the ingredients. All right. So the only thing we need to do now is make the ganache and then just kind of wait for this to cook. So the ganache is, again, the recipe calls for using full fat coconut milk And you could, but again, I don't really like to use a lot of products with, high fat in them. I very rarely ever use coconut milk for anything. So I just use the oat milk again. I just use this instead of the coconut milk. So I'm actually going to turn my computer because I'm going to walk over to the stove. So I'm going to turn it this way and hopefully you can see me. Let's see. Can you see me? Let's see if you can see me. Okay.
So you just did it high pressure for 30 minutes. That's all you do, huh?
High pressure for 30 minutes. That's it. Yep. Super simple.
Because I'm thinking, I do carrot, I do something called cram muffins. It's like a carrot cake. I might try just my regular recipe and do it that way. See what happens.
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
All right. So I have the oat milk already, or whatever you want to use. I know you're allergic to soy, so you wouldn't use soy milk, but you could use soy milk, hemp, whatever you like. And I just had the oat milk around. So you basically just heat it up. You just want to heat that up, and then we're going to pour it over the chocolate. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. I like to do I don't know about you, but I like to clean as I go.
I'd rather have somebody else clean as I go.
Well, yeah, if you have that choice. I don't, it's just me. My husband does dishes though. He's good about that. He doesn't cook, but he does clean. So, all right, let me just see if my milk is warm. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Maybe not, maybe a minute. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anybody want to know anything about health?
Well, I'd like to know a little bit about who the heck you are.
Who the heck am I? I'm just the girl next door. Well, we should tell the story about how we met, actually. How I ended up on your show. Do you want me to tell?
Yes, please do. Okay. And how long you've been plant-based and why? We'd love to know now that you've got the hard part, you've got it in the Instant Pot. You still have to make the ganache though, right?
I am. So I just want to see how hot it is.
Yeah. No, Cheryl, it's not a dry Instant Pot. You never, ever want to cook with a dry Instant Pot. She said you put an inch of water in. The recipe is in the show notes.
There is an inch.
If you're watching on Facebook, unfortunately, you can't see the show notes. So please hop over to YouTube because the whole recipe is there.
Yeah, there's an inch of water in there. You didn't see me put it in because I already had it in there before the show started. So that was part of my prep. So I have been, I'm just find my chocolate. Here it is. I have been plant-based. This is my 10-year anniversary.
Well, mazel tov.
Thank you. Yes. So it really was kind of not really a dare, but it was a friend of mine that I was working with at the time. It was one of my first health coaching jobs. And here, all I did here was I just poured the warm oat milk on top of the chocolate. That's all I'm doing. So we were working together and she said, hey, she goes, there's this movie called Forks Over Knives. I'd never heard of it. She goes, just go watch it. Just watch it. So I watched it. And so just to coin a phrase, that Diana Goldman, you had her on the other day. She said she became an Insta-vegan. I talked to her yesterday, by the way. Thank you. You sort of hooked us up. But anyways, I became an Insta-vegan, literally overnight. I saw that movie. I said, that's it. Now, the only thing that took a while to work on getting rid of completely was oil. So oil came a few years later, but dairy, everything was gone except for the oil. Well, now I'm oil-free. So that was I was 51. That was 2011. And it's 2021. So 10 years.
Oh. And your husband joined you in your journey.
I wish. He's a reluctant vegetarian, I call him, because I don't bring anything into the house other than I have some cheese for him and some eggs for him. But I mean, I have no meat. If he wants it, he has to go out. So, and he doesn't really, he's actually, he does a pretty good job. He does a pretty good job, and he'll never be vegan. And we have two boys who are, in their 20s, and they're both very interested in eating well. And our youngest son has tried being vegan a few times, and he keeps trying it. So he's working his way there. And yeah, so they know their mom's plant-based, and I think they respect that. And they will eat the things that I make. If I make something plant-based, they usually like it. It's just doing it for themselves is harder. So you and I met we met at the Two Forks conference in, I think, 2015, when the Esselstyns had that conference here in Cleveland. And you did a demo, and you were one of the special guests. And I met you then. We didn't meet. We just took a picture meet. And then at the NHA conference that you attended, we wore the same exact outfit.
I remember, I have a picture. You had almost the exact same shirt as me. It was a leopard print.
It was. And we both had a black skirt on. It was so funny. We were. So I sent you that picture. I said, hey, because it was like a year later. I said, I'm just sending you a memory from the NHA conference. And then that's how, you ended up asking me to do a little cooking demo. So yeah, that was fun. They're supposed to have it again this year in June.
I think it's too soon for people that I know to travel.
I don't know. I mean, the last I talked to them, they were planning on it, but I think they said things were sort of kind of evolving, so they may have to cancel or make some different arrangements if things, don't change. But
they should just do it virtual. They'd get a lot more people.
Yeah, probably. So, but it's fun. I met Kathy Fisher there.
Yeah, she's great. Mm-hmm. People are saying that for coconut milk, they can add coconut extract to plant-based milk. And that's a trick Mary McDougall invented a long time ago, like an eighth or a quarter of a teaspoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely can. And here's another thing that I've also tried with this cake. So instead of using the almond milk or the soy milk, I've actually used brewed coffee.
That sounds good.
That mocha flavor to it. So it doesn't come out quite as rich. So again, if you add some fat into that, so if you're using soy milk that has a little bit more fat, the integrity of the product is going to change a little bit. But I mean, if you're not that picky, you just like chocolate, you'll like it no matter how you make it.
Nice. Are you going to make the ganache now?
Yeah. So I already poured the oat milk. Yeah. So it actually, I wonder if maybe I made it a little thin. I don't know if you guys can see, it's a little watery, but you can always add, actually what I might do is add more chocolate. So let me I'm going to turn my computer back over here and walk around. Okay. I'm actually going to do probably a no-no, but I'm just going to add chocolate into this because it's a little thin. I kind of added a little something to the cake at the end. I don't really have it as part of the recipe, but I can send you what I did if anybody's interested in doing it. So you can literally just use this ganache, and again, you shouldn't just be throwing chocolate in cool oat milk, but hopefully it's still warm enough to melt. It's just so thin, I wanted to make it a little thicker. So I thought that the cake needed maybe a little something else in terms of like decorating it. And it's called Moulis chocolate pie. It's a recipe from Alton Brown. And I used that as the frosting on the cake. And then I added the ganache on top afterward. So I let that Moulis chocolate pie, it's like a consistency of a chocolate mousse. So if you put it in the refrigerator and it cools over time, it gets a little more solidified. And so I frosted the cake and then I added the ganache afterwards. So I kind of did chocolate on top of chocolate. So This is still kind of thick. What, if it comes out too thin, I suppose you could always either add more chocolate or just put it in the refrigerator. And if you put it in the refrigerator, it'll solidify a little bit. And it's doing that right now. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm gonna sort of hold it up to the camera that you can see that it's a little on the thin side, but I'm trying to make it a little thicker. So yeah, if anybody has any questions about what a health coach does, I can talk to you about what a health coach does.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what you do. And Kosia says, tell us about the equipment in your kitchen and why your husband doesn't want you to buy more stuff. What do you use in your daily basis to prepare your plates?
Okay, well, let me just say thank you. Those are good questions. I am a very simple eater. I literally eat as much as I must have 30 cookbooks. They're all plant-based. And as much as I like to experiment and cook, I literally end up eating the same stuff every day. I got a tip from you, Chef AJ. I put zucchini in my oatmeal in the morning because you always talk about having zucchini for breakfast. So, or anytime. And I decided that since I was pretty hungry in the morning, I didn't want to eat a huge calorically dense breakfast. So I add about a cup and a half of shredded zucchini to my oatmeal every single morning. And to answer the question about what equipment I have in my kitchen, I have 2 Instant Pots. I have a food processor. I just bought, I was going to have my computer sitting on it. I have a Vitamix, and I just bought one of these because then I don't have to pull out my big Vitamix. What else do I have? I have my stand mixer, and I bought a rice cooker. And I use my rice cooker to make my oatmeal every single morning. So I make it at night, and I put it on delay for like 11 hours. So when I get up in the morning, my breakfast is ready. And it's got my zucchini in it, my oatmeal, got fruit. Yeah, it's a good breakfast. And I kind of eat the same thing for lunch. I eat this, I'm not even sure what you would call it. Have you ever eaten at True Foods Kitchen?
A long time ago, yeah.
Okay. So they have a bowl, and I want to say it's called their Harvest Grain Bowl. Anyways, it's so good. It had quinoa and tofu and sweet potatoes. And I think it had a little sriracha sauce, like it had a little bite to it. So it was kind of like a sweet and sour. And it had some broccoli. It had just a bunch of really good things. And I thought, I'm going to duplicate that. So I kind of I sort of made up a recipe, which has, instead of the quinoa, I use cauliflower rice because I like the feel or the mouth feel of rice, but I didn't want all the calories from the rice because I could eat rice like there's no tomorrow. I just could, eat cups and cups of rice. So I do the cauliflower rice, the broccoli, a sweet potato, some tofu, and I have an air fryer. So I air fry my tofu. I air fry. Tempeh is my new big food. I love tempeh. And what else do I put in that? I put in a little hummus, and I put in a little, what was the other thing? I go to Trader Joe's and get these salsas. So I put a little salsa in there, and that's what I have for lunch every day. And then dinner's just like a salad. I mean, I'm like a robot. I eat the same thing every day, but I like my food. I mean, that's what I like to eat. So
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Same way.
And I got the, the girl from Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show. I'm going to try to make her hummus because you had her on maybe a week or so ago, and she did that hummus with the raisins in it. It sounded really good.
Yeah, Jill Dalton. Her recipes are great.
Right. Yeah.
Nice. So when do you put the ganache on? Do you have to cool it first or do you?
You do. Yeah, I can't do anything until, so I have to wait for this, and that's 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if we can wait till the whole thing is finished, unfortunately, because I've got my cooking boot camp today at 10
Do you want to see the finished product?
I would love to.
So this, let me see if I can hold it so it doesn't fall off the, let's see. I don't know, can you guys see this? I'm going to tilt it down a little bit. Can you see what that looks like?
Oh my God, that's absolutely gorgeous. How did you decorate it?
So what I told you, I used that, and if anybody wants a recipe, I can send it to you. So once the cake was cooled, now this is going to be a really thin, I mean, it's only like this thick. It's not going to rise a lot, okay? So I had a little trouble, but when it was cool, I cut it in half. So once I cut it in half, I had these really thin layers. Then I made that recipe of that mousse chocolate pie, and I put a layer of that mousse chocolate pie, on the first layer of the cake, then put the other half on. Then I just decorated the rest of the cake with the rest of that mousse chocolate pie recipe. And then I put that in the fridge and let it cool a little bit, because if you put hot ganache, on top of that mousse, it just melts it. So once that was cooled, then I took the ganache. So, that's what's in this bowl here. And then I just kind of, I don't know, not really rhyme or reason, just kind of squirted it on there. And then when that was cool, just because it's Valentine's Day coming up, I thought I would do like a little heart theme. And I just found these chocolate dove hearts and I stuck them on there. And then I made a strawberry rose.
How did you do that? I've seen strawberry flowers, but do you have an extra strawberry? Can you show how you make the rose?
Yeah, let me see where, let me pull out my strawberries.
That would be fun.
And I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I learned how to do this on YouTube. YouTube's great for everything. You gotta go to school on YouTube, whatever you want. Okay, so I have a little tiny knife, so let me get that. Come on. You need a really good sharp, you need a good paring knife like this. I mean, this one's really small and very sharp. So just pray there's no bloodshed on your show today. So I take a strawberry, and let me move this out of the way. Okay. So I take a strawberry, and I don't know how well, do you need me to bring this closer? I can't really tell what. Okay. So I start by making one little slice. Can you guys see? Can you see how I'm making a slice on the edge? You make a slice on the edge. So let's see if you can see this. So you can pull it out a little bit. See how that sort of, do you see how that? Okay.
That's really cool.
Okay. Then you sort of do the same thing all the way around. So can you see there's another like that? Okay. Then I make another slice. And I make another slice. And it's it's just kind of by eye. Okay. So now I've got, let's see, I've got 4 slices. I don't know if you could see this. Let's see if that little guy will come out. Come on, little guy, come out. Okay, so can you see I've got 4 of these slices. Okay, then there's still more strawberry in the middle, and I kind of go around and do the same thing. So I go and cut sort of the remainder. There's like a little smaller piece in the center. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And then all I do is I push on the bottom of this strawberry. See that? Do you see how they popped out? Okay. So yeah, so that's how I made it. I just did that. And then now that I want it to be perfect, right? It'll just all fall apart. But yeah, And that's it. That's how I made it.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's the finished product. You could decorate it any way you want to. If you don't want to do the chocolate ganache, you don't even have to. You know, it's just, recipes are guides, right?
Yeah. Question from Kosia, do you do any kind of batch or meal prep during the week?
I do. So that's a good question. Usually on Sunday mornings, and you turned me on to those, is it the murasaki? Is that how you pronounce it? Murasaki, the Japanese? I love those. But I have to tell you, we have a Trader Joe's here, and it's not that far from me. But since the pandemic, there's a line around the building. And because it's cold here, I don't want to stand in line. So whenever I go by there and there's no line, I will run in, and that's what I'll buy, like bunches of those Japanese sweet potatoes. So I buy those. I'll buy some of the orange colored, the orange fleshed ones. I will buy, what's the other, the Jersey sweet potato, right? Didn't you tell me the Hannah yams? Is that what they are? But aren't they also called Jersey sweet potatoes?
Sometimes they're called Jersey or white sweet potatoes.
So I will just take an entire tray and fill it up with all the different kinds of sweet potatoes. And then I'll batch cook those in the oven every Sunday morning. I'm not kidding you. I must make 15 of them. So I'll have them for I'll have them probably for longer than a week, but I eat a lot of those. And I also, what else? I batch cook. What else do I batch cook? Oh, I'll make soups. Like I'll use my Instant Pot and I'll make a couple soups for the week. And I know I didn't want to show you. Somebody else, Diana, was it Diana? Let's see. I'm not sure if it was her. Somebody else on your show said they use these, the super cubes. I love these because I can batch cook in my Instant Pot, let it cool, and then I can have frozen soup in these little 1 or 1.5, because it's either 1 or 1.5. Is it half a cup? Or it looks like half a cup and 1 cup portion sizes. And it's fantastic. I love it. I don't think that.
Right. So how do people get your Nomu pie recipe? Because there is no more room in the show notes for your, because the recipe's so long, it takes up all the show notes, all the characters I have on YouTube.
So they can either send me an email if they want, or would it be easier for them to send me an email or for me to?
Maybe, because do you want me to put that? Can I put it in the chat, or how would you like that?
Yeah, my email is dlambert4@gmail.com.
That's pretty easy.
Yep, and it's the number 4, not the spelled out.
Great. Well, this is great. I wish we had time to see the cake, but like I mentioned, I have a boot camp that I'm supposed to be.
Oh, this is what it looks like. It's going to look, not as decorated, but it's.
What does it look like when you take it out of the Instant Pot? It just looks like a cake, right?
It just looks like a little cake. It just looks like a little chocolate cake. Yep.
D. Lambert 4. Wow, that is just so beautiful the way you decorated it.
Thank you.
You're very talented.
Thank you. I can either wait till Valentine's Day to eat it, or my birthday is next month. And I'll have it for that.
Would you be able to freeze it?
Yeah, I wouldn't freeze it with the strawberries on it, but I don't see why you couldn't freeze it, for sure.
Because you're going to have 2 cakes in about 12 minutes.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to freeze one of them. Yeah, right. Or you know what? I'll give it to somebody.
Right. So that ganache, they'll get the ganache it'll get a little bit more firm after you put it on the cooled cake.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it has to be a cooled cake. Do not attempt to put it, or it'll be soup if you put it on a warm cake.
Exactly. Right. And don't cook. And the lesson of the day is don't cook your soup in the Instant Pot with the little plastic piece.
Yes. Please make sure that's not in your ingredient list. Yes. And always look in your Instant Pot to see if it fell in. I don't know why I stored it in there, because it had fallen out and I was too lazy to put it back on. So I just put it inside the pot. And I didn't even think to.
Well, if you remember when I did the food demo at the NHA conference in Cleveland, the president of Vitamix, John Bernardi, was there. Yeah. I actually blended the plastic piece in with the Vitamix. So, yeah. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful presentation. I really appreciate it. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when we have another wonderful culinary demo from two people, Dr. Rosanna Alviera from the UC Davis School of Integrative Medicine and an RN named Carissa Vukovic. They've been on to the show together, but tomorrow they're going to be making brunch and they're going to be making a smoked tofu Benedict with roasted potato wedges. Thanks so much, Diane. It was great catching up with you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're adorable. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.